Sad news to start day 4 here at the Super Bowl as the Bears just announced that Virginia McCaskey, team matriarch, has passed away at the age of 102 years old. What a life. We are here to react, and Charles Peanut Tillman is here to start the show as well. The CHGO Bears Podcast begins now. Welcome in from New Orleans. CHGO Bears is live from Radio Row, powered by Circa Sportsbook. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Adam Hogue, Mark Carman, Greg Braggs Jr. back with you for day 4 here at the Super Bowl. And as I mentioned, sad news that just came across right before we were going live here. Charles Peanut Tillman, kind enough to come over here and join us to discuss it. Sad news, not necessarily surprising news, but Virginia McCaskey, 102 years old, has passed away.
102. I would like to believe that Ms. McCaskey lived a good life, being 102 years old. Yep. I can honestly say that I knew her well. She knew me. She knew my family. Probably the greatest memory I will have of this woman is when my daughter was dealing with her heart transplant, her heart issues back in 2008. Mrs. McCaskey, very old school, very traditional, wrote a letter. Didn't text. She just was old school, wrote this letter out, and she expressed her just prayers for my family, just gratitude for my play and what I meant to the organization. I'll always remember for that. That was just one of the kindest things we received during that time, especially from an owner. It was just first class.
And she lived a very good life. 102 years old. She was at the very beginning of Chicago Bears football and the NFL, and to make it all the way to this point and to finish on the note of the Bears beating the Green Bay Packers. Like that now resonates with me in a big way. That's the right way to go if that's how it's going to be, right?
I mean, since you put it like that,
he goes right to the football field.
Yeah,
I know how much that meant to her.
Well, she did care. She did care.
She definitely cared. The thing that I want people to know about Miss McCaskey, she just wasn't, some woman owner who just kind of sat back and did nothing and let the guys run it. Like she was there. She was in meetings. She knew about the team. She knew players. Like she was very much involved with the team. She still went to games. I believe I watched one game with her. I was invited to go to the suite one time. I watched the game with her. She was very much in tune with the organization, with what was happening. Competitor, she wanted to win. I'm really sad that when we had our opportunity back in 2006, to win the playoff, to win the Super Bowl, we lost one because it would have been really nice to have won one before she passed.
But let me spin that in a positive though, because when I think about that year and the image of her with the George Halas Trophy after you guys won,
it's a great picture.
I mean,
she's got her Miko on the first. She's got that beautiful. She's got the beautiful smile.
Yeah.
The snow was coming down. I mean, it was just it was an epic moment. And if I have an image, a lasting image of her, it will be that image right there. Yeah. She just beautiful smile. She's got this trophy, named after her dad. How epic is that? That was awesome.
Well, and everyone you talk to her about her says she was the nicest person. You can't find someone to say a bad word about her. So, and you were saying before we started, you'd see her in the halls, and so those were interactions. She call you Pino? Was it hello, Charles? How did she do that?
She called me Charles. But she was just she wasn't loud. She was very soft spoken, but just extremely kind. Went to church every day, and I know some of this because George and I, we've talked, and he's described it to me what she does on a day-to-day, at her age. And, gets up early, goes to church, comes home, probably does a couple things, goes back to church. Devout Catholic woman, just a kind woman all the way around. And my heart goes out to the McCaskey family because I'm sure they're dealing with this, and it's really sad for them. Beside her being an owner, they lost their mom, they lost their grandmother. Take football aside, forget football, take that away. That's someone's mom, that's someone's grandmother.
Yep.
And I'm still fortunate enough to still have both my parents still living, and Lord knows how I'll be when that time comes when the good Lord calls them back home.
Yep.
So I really do feel my heart goes out to George and the rest of the family because it's a bunch of them. So I feel my heart is with the McCaskey family. So all 700 of them.
Yeah. So, even up until a few years ago, Virginia was still traveling to games.
Yeah.
I always thought that was wild. Like, you're 100. You're sitting here. You had to make.
And look, our access at Hallis Hall is a lot different. We're confined to the media area, but when we're walking in, there's still a reserved parking spot next to George Hallis's statue that's for Virginia. And up until, again, a few years ago, like there's days where the white Cadillac would be there with the license plate holder that says Pray the Rosary. And you're like, oh, Virginia's here today.
And she drove. That was the thing, too. Like, she drove, like, later in life, like, really late in life. Again, I can't say it enough. I know when some people get older, they start to forget things. She had it. She drove. She was a good driver. She went to games. She traveled. All she wanted was just to see this team win. And, I feel bad because I wasn't able to get that ring for her before her passing. But I can't say enough about just how kind and just nice of a person she was. She had a great heart.
I think that's my last question for you because we know you got to go. And thank you so much for coming over here. But all the players we talk to call her Miss McCaskey.
Yes.
And you guys genuinely, like, everyone I've talked to, like, wanted to win for her. Why is that? Because I don't know that every team ownership has that.
Well, I just think when you think about the Chicago Bears, it's one of the oldest franchises in the National Football League, and me being a Bear for so long, like I got to feel what it's like to know what this organization is, what it means to the fans, what it means to the city, and then on top of that, her dad being one of the forefathers, one of the originators of this league, and she's been there since day one. Like, she was around, like, very early on, right? And you feel this connection to the team. You feel like you really are a part of the organization. It's not just like, yeah, this is my job, I'm playing football. No, it means something to be a Chicago Bear. It's not just like, oh, yeah, I got drafted by the Saints or I got drafted by the Broncos. No disrespect to those two teams, but these are the Chicago Bears. And it meant something. So to wear the orange and blue and then to have her, because we didn't have a lot of female owners too. So that's another, that's another big deal. And she just was, I don't know, man. There was a connection with her, and she just was sweet. And when she would come around, it was just like, hey, Miss McCaskey around. And everyone was just like, how you doing, Miss McCaskey? And she spoke to the team a few times, and just a very soft-spoken, kind-hearted owner who you really wanted the best for, which was winning a championship. Everybody wanted it. Everybody felt it. And like you said, like it was real genuine. Her love for you when she was, I'm going to say a prayer for you. Like, it was genuine. She would legit, I think some people just, oh, yeah, I'm going to say some prayers for you. She really did that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you felt it. And when my daughter got sick, I loved her even more. Loved her before, but loved her even more after that. Like, she's a real one. She was a real one. Really, she was.
Appreciate you sharing. And I just listening to it and going back to 06, whatnot. I know you didn't win it, and I know that sucks, but, like, you were the only team since '85 to get there and give that to her. So, I mean, that you got to the Super Bowl, man. It's a big-time accomplishment.
I hope we gave her some joy. I really do feel bad that we couldn't finish it all and bring it home. But I hope we gave her
you definitely did.
a little bit of joy.
I promise you did. It's not just getting to the Super Bowl. It was the way you guys in that Lovie Smith era,
that whole team,
you guys embodied what it meant to be a Chicago Bear, and it was a pleasure for me to go out to Bourbonnais and watch you guys go to work every week. And I know for her to be able to be at House Hall every day watching you guys go to work, I know that was probably obviously a huge thrill and a pleasure for her as well.
Yeah. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks, guys.
You're the
Appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.
Yep.
Thanks.
Take care.
Yes,
nice
sir.
seeing
Charles
you again.
Tillman. My ribs are still bruised from the time you punched the ball out of mine. And you kind of missed the ball and you got it right here. And you know,
I hope the ribs are healed. I hope they're healing.
If you want to punch Carm.
That was like 10 years ago, but, you know, some things linger. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We're live, so you can go ahead and stand up. All good. Thank you so much. Yeah. And
First class peanut always.
and he's doing stuff all week long on his show, too, with Roman Harper.
Roman
right?
Harper
Yep.
and him have a great podcast. They were just talking with Warren Moon.
I love
and
Warren
he
Moon.
was, like talking about how much of a thrill it is for him to talk to Hall of Fame players. And I was telling him as I walked over, I'm like, it's a thrill for me to talk to you. Warren, so it's kind of how it everybody kind of passes that off. This is what Radio Row is all about is meeting these kind of people, and obviously with this kind of moment to be able to get his perspective, on Virginia McCaskey, 102 years old. Not just the longevity of the NFL she's experienced, but think about how many different things in life in the world that have changed since 1925.
Oh, it's wild. Well, and look, my dad's 99. When you get to that age, you are incredibly tough just to keep going. Nothing feels good. The appetite goes away. Anybody who's had old parents, old grandparents, it's just not easy at all. I got you here. But so Don Pearson, who is maybe the most equipped, I know that you wrote a piece for Virginia back when you were at NBC Sports Chicago.
Yes, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. So
but this is what Don's putting out.
Well, real quick, just seeing this pop up, Don Pearson's byline on this obituary.
Yeah,
that's how it should be. That is, and I'll get into this in a little bit. But the book that Don and Dan Pompei did, the scrapbook from a few years ago, the Bears 100 season, is unbelievable. I wish I had it here with me. It's enormous, so I obviously don't carry it with me on the road. But if we were at home, I'd be reading out of that right now because the Virginia stories are incredible.
So he writes from the Tribune today. I'm just going to read it for everybody. Virginia McCaskey, principal owner of the Chicago Bears, the only daughter of team founder George Halas, died Thursday. The team announced she was 102 years old. Quote, while we're sad, we are comforted knowing Virginia Halas McCaskey lived a long, full, faith-filled life and is now with the love of her life on earth, the family said in a statement. She guided the Bears for 4 decades, the quote continues, and based every decision on what was best for Bears players, coaches, staff, and fans. And then Pearson writes, McCaskey was reluctantly forced by circumstance to take over her father's enterprise. She guided it with passion, patience, and more than a touch of Papa Bear's legendary toughness and stubbornness. When she removed eldest son Michael as team president in February of 1999 and went outside the family to replace him with financial director Ted Phillips, she made the difficult decision with the style and grace that defined her personality. The death of her only brother, George Muggs Halas Jr., of a heart attack in 1979 at 54, left McCaskey as the sole heir to the franchise started in 1920. Quote, yes, all the time I was growing up, for a large part of my married life, my brother Muggs was there, she once said. I used to think, thank God for Muggs. I depended on him. He was the one in charge. I just assumed he'd be the one to take over for my dad. And that put me in a great position. I would be able to enjoy all the perks and not have any of the problems. But God had other plans for all of us. Though she was 2 years older than her brother, she had no intention to follow in her father's footsteps. On the board of directors, she kept the title of secretary rather than assuming the title of president or chairman, even though she controlled the voting stock. Her late husband, Ed, who died in 2003, once said she quietly, quote, called the shots. I don't like to be in the spotlight, she said. I think it's a man's world as far as the Chicago Bears are concerned. And then just continuing on, when the team reached the Super Bowl, we were just talking about in the 2006 season, after a 21-year absence, McCaskey allowed herself, a rare reflection. It was a bumpy road a lot of the times, how I should sell the team and give Chicago competent ownership. Okay, maybe I'm not competent, but Ed and I found the people to do the job. Actually, we found Ted Phillips. He found Jerry Angelo, and Jerry Angelo found Lovie Smith, and here we are.
Yep.
So you can leave it at that. There's more if you want to read it.
Yeah, definitely read Don Pearson there. It's great stuff there. It's one of those things, like, we all kind of have been waiting for that moment, and I know we're going to take a break. So, it's it's just one of those things where I know how much George wanted to win for her, right?
Yeah.
And as somebody that is a mama's boy, my mom's in the chat every day. Be nice to her chat, but I know he and the family are hurting right now for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just so everyone's aware, we started a few minutes earlier here with the news of Virginia McCaskey's passing, and once again, thank Charles Tillman for jumping on. We do have a ton of content, obviously, from here at the Super Bowl that we've been working on literally since yesterday's show ended. We talked to Ron Rivera about interviewing with the Bears, and unfortunately that was yesterday because Ron would also have some really good thoughts right now on Virginia McCaskey.
Well,
so we're going to talk a little bit more about this story.
And Kyle Long was literally live on the air, and they broke it to him while he was live.
Oh,
I
really?
just talked to him a few minutes ago. We had him on yesterday as well, and he was like, he was so broken up by it. He was like, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Like, it was hard for him to receive that news that way.
Well, I definitely have more thoughts on this, and Doug Flutie is supposed to join us too in about 15 minutes. So, we'll continue to cover this story, but I think we will sprinkle in some of the other interviews and content that we have done here in New Orleans, because we want you guys to all see that as well. But first, we do have to take our first time out here on the CHGO Bears podcast, and we have a new sponsor that has a new product that we want to tell you about, and that is Sam Adams American Light. This is light beer getting better. That's what it is with Sam Adams American Light. It's clean, crisp, super easy to drink. No gimmicks, no fluff. Sam Adams American Light is not your average light beer. It's brewed with 100% American-sourced ingredients from local independent farmers. Light beer that's made right. An American classic, so smooth, you'll want to crack open another one. It's always Sam season. Light beer just got better. Grab some Sam Adams American Light, available now at select Chicago retailers. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
And shout out to our friends at Mando. That's right, we're trying to keep you feeling fresh, sounding fresh, looking fresh, and just feeling good here. Yes, Mando is the best men's deodorant, hyper-focused on making you smell as unbelievable as possible. It's a whole-body deodorant, safe to use anywhere. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand that normal BO was being misdiagnosed, mistreated. They've got a ton of scents for you: bourbon, leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, whatever you want. And it is clinically proven to control odor better than with a shower and soap alone. So Mando Starter Pack is there for you. You, the new customer, it comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream 2 deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. Bunch of options there for you. It's super fun to go through it. Like, yeah, I think I want that one. You'll see what I'm talking about if you check it out. Special for you. You get $5 off the starter pack with our exclusive code. That is, use the code CHGO at shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show, by the way, and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence, head to toe, Mando. Hoger.
Yeah. So, I just want to reiterate the life that she lived. It's insane. This goes back. We're talking about essentially the entire history of the Chicago Bears organization, and one thing that I do remember from that scrapbook, was it 33? Was the NFL championship? Played one in 33, I think. Our internet is not working right now, by the way, for me to look some of this stuff up. But she was there.
The first NFL championship, that's what you're asking?
But the point is she was there.
Right, okay.
She was there at the game. If you think about that.
She's 100, and she was 102. She lived for 102 years. Let me say it like that, okay? It is 2025. Born in 1923. All right?
So
they didn't have TVs in your home at that point. I mean, the automobile was just coming into I mean, it's just wild. But
I'm talking about this in terms of the Bears.
Sure.
The organization. This is why when we hear Thomas Dimitroff the other day talk about how the history of this organization is still so attractive. This is the kind of stuff that they're talking about. So thanks to Jake Flanagan for giving us some notes here. So Virginia McCaskey's been alive for all but the first 3 seasons of the Chicago Bears franchise. That goes back to 1920. She was born on January 5th, 1923. She was alive for 8 of the 9 Bears championships, of course, including Super Bowl 20. She was married to Ed McCaskey, who was previously the chairman and treasurer of the Bears. Although McCaskey had never had any official share of ownership, he acted as co-owner alongside his wife before his death back in 2003. They got married in 1943. They had 11 children and more than 40 grandchildren, and then there's the great-grandchildren. So this is where Charles was saying there's 700 McCaskeys. There basically are. Virginia is one of 10 female NFL owners, and she was the longest tenured owner in the NFL. Faith, family, and football were key components of her life.
I texted Al
1920.
Yeah, I texted Al Harris, who of course played for the Bears in the '80s, been on the show multiple times. My guy Al, and I was asking, what would you share? And he's wrote me, her and her late husband Ed came to his wedding. Quote, she was a quiet lady but a first-class person, such a sweet, kind lady, very strong in her faith. But that story, like a Bear player is getting married and she's, she and Ed are going to show support, is a beautiful little anecdote right there. And again, like, it was always you could say anything you'd want to say about the Bears, but you would never say anything bad about Virginia, because it was like, this is just this sweet, caring woman who at the top who's doing the best that she can in her job.
Well, and to your point, Bears fans obviously have been hard on the McCaskies, and when you talk about like how they run the operation there, right? And all we've heard from all these different people that have come on, Ron Rivera, you'll hear some stuff about talking about how impressed he was by the process that they've now had in this coaching search. When Ben Johnson was hired, he said one of the main reasons that it felt right to come here was the family feel aspect of Hallis Hall and that environment that they've created. So I know that at times has been a talking point as criticism to some Bears fans, that it's like, hey, well, this is a business. It's not about family. It's not about this, that, and the other. Well, Ben Johnson, the darling head coach that everybody wanted, came here because of that culture and environment that she had a huge hand in developing.
Well, and to that point, though, it'll be a story like, what are the plans, for the team? I would be absolutely surprised if the Bears were ever not in the McCaskey family. But this, how does the void get filled? How will they exactly go forward? Yep. I wouldn't expect anything massively different than what they're doing as far as building the stadium and running the team the way they run it. But it is on the table.
Yeah, I mean, like, because to be clear, she's a lot has changed from even when Charles was playing and the things that he was saying about her involvement, being in some meetings. This has really been Georgia's operation for a while now, and certainly the transition from Ted Phillips to Kevin Warren only amplified that. So I don't think that there are really any immediate types of impact of this on the organization, but there'll be way better times down the road to kind of have these discussions. But it does kind of open the door to, bigger changes because that was never going to happen while Virginia was still alive. So that'll be something that's very interesting to follow in the future.
Yeah, and there are like weird things going on as far as very wealthy people selling franchises right now. To Mark Cuban getting out of Dallas, to Jordan, it's like, sure, maybe the Bears will be worth $8 trillion in another 30 years, but it's like, if you cash out now, you've got more money than you could ever spend in 17 lifetimes. So it's like, it's not just It's more of a you want to have the team because you love having the team and it's in your family. You want to pass it down.
And I think that they do. Like, it'll be interesting, but my sense has always been that this isn't really about cashing out and getting the money. They love the Chicago Bears.
Right.
Like that George has said that before. I'm a fan, right? So is Virginia. So is that family. And so I think, you're always going to be thinking about that from a business aspect, whatever, but I think ultimately they're always going to want to keep it because of the pride they have in how they are the ones that built it. And that would be a big thing to let go. The history, again, you talking about a charter franchise to the NFL. The Hallises paid for the Green Bay Packers to stay an organization at one point. The Green Bay Packers at one point were about to flop as a franchise when the early developments of the NFL. And the Hallis family saved them and kept them going. And now look at what it's turned into. The National Football League. And yeah, they're a tough rival, but that's how much of an impact they've had on this sport that is look what's going on here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they were at the start of this when it was nothing.
Yeah. From where we're sitting right now with 8 million stations here and every big network and all of that, the National Football League being the king of all sports, and of course, you can tie it all back to George. That's an insane way of looking at it.
Yeah.
As far as just your impact that you had while you were on this earth, that's wild.
And I understand why your brain went there at the beginning.
Brain went where?
I love that your first thought was the Bears beat the Packers in their last game. But now I do think that there is I don't know what the right word is, but something cool about that.
100%.
Yeah, like that is cool that they
Yeah.
they had lost 10 straight games to Green Bay. We know how much it matters to that family.
Yeah.
And
they wanted to I know they wanted to get her a Super Bowl, right? But at the very least, to finish like that, at least instead of an 11-game losing streak, I know it sounds trivial. A person passed away today, but she was the owner of the Chicago Bears. She loved the Bears. They hate the Packers. Just, like from a rivalry standpoint. So, that meant something, and I think there's some symbolism there.
Yeah. Well, Doug Flutie's going to be here so we can discuss it a little more. We've got a ton of content. So,
I'll let you guys handle that, and I'll go make sure that he's ready to go.
You're going to make
Thank
sure
you.
the Flutie's going to fly in?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, where are we at on the clock? Because we started early.
We can do it.
Confused. Should we take another break here?
Yeah, we should. And let's move her along here because this is a very tight show. We hope you guys have been enjoying us down here. Thank you to Circus Sports for helping us be down here this entire week, having a great time. And Hogue, are you ready, or should I go? Okay, I got it. So, but first, shout out to our friends at Game Time Tickets. You know what to do. You want to use Game Time because they filter out the fluff to give you the best deals on the best seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time picks, making it easy for you. They just boil it all down. Best value, best seat. Buy this right here. It's an easiest way that you can do buying tickets to sports, concerts, any event. They've got it at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, use the redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. And Hogue, let me just shout out our friends at Circa if you don't mind. Circa Sports, you're the best. Thank you so much. We love you. Pro or college, the app to bet football on Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports. This is a sweet little hoodie that I got from Circa Sports.
Oh, yeah. Where'd you get that?
They gave it to Braggs, and I just stole it.
Oh.
Actually, he gave it to me because it didn't fit him. Circa Sports has the high betting limits, the low holds, the exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, in-game. Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie at circasports.com. You do have to be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So while we should be joined by Doug Flutie here in a few minutes, I did I do have the obituary that I wrote, which we're in the process of updating, posting, to take you behind the scenes of how some of that stuff works. But there's some quotes in here I wanted to share because I started this with Virginia McCaskey was not supposed to be the principal owner of the Chicago Bears, but it's not like she complained about it. Quote, "It's a wonderful kind of burden, isn't it?" she told the Chicago Tribune back in 1998. In the Chicago Bears Centennial scrapbook that I was talking about earlier, she actually wrote like a thing in there, like I don't remember if it was a letter or just a chapter or whatever, but she wrote, this is Virginia's words that she wrote. "For a long time, being born into the Bears was something I took for granted. My dad, George Halas, was the coach. That's how I thought of him, the coach, not the owners. I never thought of owning a franchise because I wasn't involved in the business end of it. I don't take being a part of the Bears for granted anymore. I understand how blessed I am that this has been my life."
You wrote this what year?
I believe 3 years ago.
Okay.
But these are her quotes from the scrapbook. And she even talks about in that piece that she wrote about how tough it's been lately. She said there have not been as many good memories in recent years. It has been difficult. I appreciate the fact that it has been hard on our fans. We certainly don't take our fans for granted. We owe it to them. We hope they will stay with us and that they will be deserving of we will be deserving of their support. Excuse me. And she finished, "We must continue to get better and have winning seasons again." That was, again, written back by her in the Bears Centennial scrapbook in 2018 was when that came out. George McCaskey in 1997 said, that's actually a typo. Good job there. Good editing by me.
That's okay, Adam. Yeah. You're not perfect.
90. I'm trying to do the math on that. I guess this would have been 2017.
Okay.
She has outlived. Yeah, George said she has outlived her dad, her mom, her only sibling, her husband, and a son. She's had her share of heartache, but she is a remarkably resilient person. I tell people that she's tougher than her dad was, and those who know her don't disagree. That was from George McCaskey a few years ago. So yeah, that's some words from Virginia herself.
I mean, inherited the team in 1983, won the Super Bowl in '85, greatest team to ever play the game of football. Damn it, nobody wants to argue about that. And the words that come to mind for me are just class, and honorable human being.
Yeah.
And I know that Bears fans wish that the Bears had been winning more football games. I get it. But this was just a first-class person who had the respect of literally seemingly everybody that touched her. So condolences again to the McCaskey family.
Yeah. So let's do this, Steven. Do we have that Ron Rivera interview ready? That's not the right one to play right now. So
we can. We have a million options here, Hogue.
I know.
Would you like to hear from Rich Gannon? Would you like to hear from? I thought he was fantastic. We want to do that?
We can if it's ready. Rich Gannon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Rich Gannon sat down with us earlier.
You're going to love this conversation. He is fantastic about what it takes for a quarterback to be successful here. This is some really, I thought, Rich came ready to play. From the second he sat down, the energy was popping. And, of course, this is a guy who, Rich Gannon, for people who don't, his career did not take off until he was 35 years old. He got John Gruden, and they started winning a ton of games with the then Oakland Raiders before he started putting up 4,000-yard seasons. So I think it just applies to the struggles the Bears have had at the quarterback position. So why don't we do that? Let's play the former quarterback and, of course, now doing a ton of work around the game, calling games, the whole thing. Rich Gannon here on the CHGO Bears Podcast.
Let's bring in Rich Gannon to the show. You can hear him on SiriusXM and just phenomenal analysis all the time. He was just saying he watched all the Bears games, which I'm sorry about that.
I have to for work. So, I can't go on the show on Monday and talk about games I hadn't watched. So it can be stressful. I've got some equipment at the house that allows me to go back and watch cut-ups. Like if I just wanted to watch all of Caleb Williams' third down throws, I have that ability to do that. So it's great, but there's long weekends in the Gannon household.
I try to think about your career, and you look at young quarterbacks, and you sat early, and you really didn't pop to your best level until your mid-30s numbers-wise. Do you think, like when you watch a Caleb or a Bryce Young or the guys that actually do struggle, are you sitting there thinking he'd be way better off if he sat a year?
I think so many of these young quarterbacks come into our game and they're not ready to play. And I think when you look at it, I think the first thing is communication. Like a lot of these guys aren't calling plays in the huddle in college. They look over to the sidelines and somebody's holding up a picture of an apple and everybody knows what to do. But when you come to the NFL, you got to call the protection, the concept, the shift, the motion. There's a lot of verbiage, and a lot of these guys get overwhelmed by it early. They're not ready, and I give Caleb Williams a lot of credit for this. This guy stood in there and took a beating like a man. He played in all 17 games. I think he overcame a lot of adversity. I think he got better in stretches, and I think he showed his teammates that he's willing to be that guy. So, in fairness, it's not easy as a young quarterback, and it's especially not easy when you fire the offensive coordinator, you replace him. It's just it was a very dysfunctional environment for the young quarterback in his first season.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm curious what coach made that impact on you to like really at the NFL level take it to that next level, and why that had that impact.
This could be the John Gruden moment. I'm not sure.
So I always call it the Alex Smith syndrome. So Alex had like 7 different coordinators in I think his first 8 seasons in the NFL, and like you look at Baker Mayfield, I think he's had a different coordinator in the last 8 seasons. I mean, Jalen Hurts has had 4 different coordinators in Philadelphia, something crazy. It's hard when you're constantly – it'd be like you guys going to school in your first year, we're going to learn French in high school. And then your second year, you come back, well, now we're going to learn Spanish. Your third year, let's try German. You have nothing to fall back on. There's no history. There's no continuity. That they change the terminology and verbiage. That's really stressful. For me, that happened in Minnesota. I had like 3 different play callers in my first 6 years in the league. No one ever really gave me the keys to the car. I got traded to Washington. I was there 1 year. Not even. I was there. I got there in August. The season was over in December. I had rotator cuff surgery. I was out of football a year. I was thinking about going to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, things were tough. and then I got a chance to sign with Marty Schottenheimer and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I wasn't even the starter there in 95. So I was there for 4 years, got a chance to play a little bit, played some good ball, and then got a chance in 1999 when I was in my mid-30s by John Gruden sticking out his neck for me and saying, I want this guy to be our quarterback. And I always say it's so important when you, as the quarterback position, to have somebody who believes in you.
Sure.
Believes enough in you to put their neck out on the line and say, hey, look, we're gonna do this together. And we did.
And doesn't it feel like Ben Johnson's going to the Bears really shows that he believes in Caleb Williams? After a year of seeing a lot of ups and downs, he's in the division. They're trying to get to the Super Bowl. He comes to a 5-win team. I feel like that speaks volumes to how much he actually believes he can do what you're talking about.
Does he have any other choice?
That's a good point.
Let me just tell you this number. We've fired 37 coaches in the last 5 years. 37 coaches have been fired. It's insane. And they're all getting fired for the same reason. Bill Belichick got fired 2 years ago. Why? Because the quarterback room isn't right. And that's what happens. So if you come in and you can't, I don't want to say fix Caleb Williams because I think there's a lot of good things to like there. But if Caleb Williams can't get better and the team can't start winning games in that division, then it doesn't really matter how much you've been paid. In a couple years, you're going to be on the hot seat. That's just the nature of that business anymore. And so, I think you look at my former team, the Raiders, they've had 9 head coaches since 2011. 9!
It's crazy.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have had 9 as well. And so I talked to Tony Bozelli yesterday. If you can't figure that out, if you're constantly firing the head coach, constantly firing coordinators, constantly replacing the quarterbacks, you can't survive, especially in a division like the North. I mean, the Packers aren't going anywhere. You look at what's going on in Detroit. They've got it rolling on. And I just think that Minnesota's got a good situation. They've got a good young quarterback and J.J. McCarthy that they like. The Bears got a lot of catching up to do in that division. Yeah,
but they went out and they paid, the guy that seemed to be the hottest commodity this year in the coaching cycle. I'm just curious, it's a little bit a departure from business in the past for the Chicago Bears. It sounds like they give him $13 million a year. Just thinking, what was your reaction when he landed in Chicago in terms of the fit and how well you think it might go?
I think he was the second hottest candidate out there. I think Mike Vrabel was the guy that a lot of teams wanted. I think the Raiders wanted to get a shot at that. I think Robert Kraft got out in front of it and hired what I thought was the best coach available. When you look at his background, his experience, his ability to command a room, I think Ben Johnson is an exciting young coach. I'm curious to see what he can do in terms of the entire football team. I think when you look at Dan Campbell, Dan's done a really good job. Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, coaching the entire team. And I think we get so caught up on, like, let's go out and hire a coach that can coach Caleb Williams. Yeah. Great idea. How about the other 52 guys on the team? We better have somebody who can oversee the special teams, guys that can step in and fix when we're having problems defensively. Yep. And I think, somebody can come in and evaluate the entire roster, and I'm hoping he can do that. I'll tell you what, they got to get better up front. You talk about the good team, like these two teams right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, they got the best offensive line in football. Detroit Lions, probably the second best offensive line in football. The Bears have a lot of work to do up front.
Your journey, just thinking about it, it'd be near impossible to happen today that some coach, John Gruden, would stick his neck. I want this 35-year-old as my starting quarterback. I believe in him. How did you keep your confidence that if I get this shot, I can do it?
I knew I could play. I just knew that I needed the opportunity and someone to believe in me. But I look at Baker Mayfield, guys. I mean, think about Baker Mayfield. He was in Cleveland. They won a road playoff game against Pittsburgh, right? Yeah. And then he hurts his shoulder. Then they kick him to the curb. Who's their quarterback now? I mean, the guy who's got an Achilles rupture, second surgery. They're paying him a boatload of money. He can't play. And I look at him, and then they kick him to the curb. Then he goes to Carolina. They don't want him. Then he goes out he flies out for the Rams and plays a couple games for them. And then he goes to Tampa 2 years ago, and they basically told him, like, hey, we're not even going to guarantee you the starter. You have to win the job in training camp. He won the job in training camp, won a division last year. This past season, they came back and won another division. He played great football. And Baker Mayfield, I'm just telling you, there's some Baker Mayfields out there. And this Daniel Jones may be one of them. I'm just telling you, this kid can play football. He had a really bad, a lot like my situation with the Giants. It was a really dysfunctional environment, but keep your eyes on Daniel Jones. I think he's going to wind up somewhere this season.
Well, and he's currently on the same team as Sam Darnold, who you could also put in.
I think both of those guys are gone. I think they've made up their mind about J.J. McCarthy. I think when the Bears play the Vikings next year, you're going to see J.J. McCarthy under center.
I think so, too.
And when you bring up Baker Mayfield, I mean, he comes from the same college coaching tree as Caleb Williams came from. So I'm curious from your perspective, watching the Bears games this year, what you saw from Caleb. You talk about what he did well, but I'm curious what you think he needs to get better at here going into his second season.
Yeah, really simple. I think really understanding protections, right? Being a master of his domain, understanding protections inside and out, understanding all the concepts in the passing game. He has a busy spring. Like, he's got a new coach coming in, a new coordinator, and new verbiage and terminology. He's got to learn a lot, and he's got to be able to process and play fast. The best quarterbacks in our game play fast. They're not at the line of scrimmage thinking about how many feet, how many steps do I take on the drop, and who's doing that. They've done it over and over again. And the ability, I think, to better understand defensive football, situational football, down and distance, red zone, third down, those type of things. But the big thing with him is his feet. Like, I think, you look at his feet. When his feet are in rhythm, when he gets the ball out on time, he makes a lot of plays off script, but at times I always say, like, sometimes the best play, the only play, is to throw it away and live for another down. Yep. This kid doesn't know that. Like, this kid's so athletic that he thinks he can make every play. He's really strong in the pocket, and he avoids a lot of sacks, but he takes way too many sacks.
Isn't
so if
crazy?
I'm coaching Caleb Williams, the first two things we do to start the offseason program, we're going to look at the sack reel. We're going to go through every play in the sack reel. I'm going to talk about why it happened. Was it a protection issue? Did the left tackle swing and miss? Did you hold it too long? Did you miss the hot read? Why are we taking these sacks? What's the down and distance? If it's 3rd and 12, why are we taking a sack on 3rd and 12?
Right.
Your odds of converting a 3rd and 12 are about 16%. Hey, it's drop back. If it's there, pull the trigger. If it's not, check the ball down. But we're not going to take a sack and turn the ball over. Then we're going to look at the interception reel. Let's go back and look at every interception. Let's go back and clean up what happened last year before we start to move forward.
So I want you living in reality here. For somebody who's struggling with that and is lining up people in the wrong way, how fast can you learn that realistically?
Oh, no, he's a smart kid. I think he can retain a lot of information. I think Ben's going to really help him, I think, streamline some things. And look, I think he had two guys calling plays that, didn't do a lot of it and weren't really good at it. And I think you bring in somebody who's really good at it, it's got a history of doing it, I think that can really help the young quarterback.
It's interesting.
You got to get those completions.
No, I loved
completions.
I loved hearing
it's all about completions.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You talk about what are your goals in the beginning of the season? It's like 70%. Like that's the standard. We want to complete 70%. Well, how do you do it? Like we're not going to sit there and wait for the guy to come open. We're going to get the ball into the hands of the playmakers and let them do what they do best.
That's awesome. I mean, honestly, this is great stuff.
Why am I not coaching quarterbacks in Chicago?
I don't know. You want to join the staff?
I've had opportunities.
I will fly.
I hope you have. Yeah.
I will fly to Chicago right now. I like for me. So this is great because for fans, when we watch games, sacks are an offensive line stat to fans.
They are.
And a play caller stat. But to evaluators, it's a quarterback stat. So I give advice to a fan like me of how I can understand better to when I'm watching a game to identify that one's on the quarterback.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell. Like, you got a free rusher off the edge. Was the tackle supposed to fan, or was the quarterback not aware that wasn't picked up? I mean, there's a lot of – sometimes it's hard. I mean, if you watch enough of it, you can kind of get a sense of it. Usually if it's like a left tackle who's been in the league 10 years, you know what I mean, and the quarterback has been in the league 10 weeks, you know what I mean, you think to yourself, probably this guy. But I think some of them are just on these quarterbacks. The game is going way too fast. I just remember when I was a rookie, I was explaining it to you this way. When you're a 16-year-old and you're driving the car for the first time, you got blinders on. All you see is the car in front of you, right? You see the traffic light. That's all you see. As your field expands, you get to be a real experienced driver. You see the oncoming traffic. You see cars behind you. You see a pedestrian in the crosswalk. And everything begins to slow down, right?
That's great.
And so for a young quarterback, it's going at you so fast, man, you're only seeing certain things. As a veteran quarterback, you're seeing the heels of the corner on the right side at 8, the heels over here at 10. You're seeing that safety 2 yards outside the number where he's usually 2 yards. You're starting to see things. Game's starting to slow down. You're starting to be able to and you start to have a fastball. You start to have tools in your toolbox to be able to get in and out of bad plays, change protections, do those type of things. That's what's next for Caleb Williams.
That's great. When I got my license, I sensed that. And the first
that was
thing
like, 22, 23?
Yeah, exactly right. They wouldn't give me a license. They shouldn't have. The first thing I did when I was 16 years old, I got my license. I felt nervous. I got on the highway and drove to Wrigley Field from my house in Northwest Indiana because I was like, if I'm going to figure this out, I got to figure it out on the highway. And that's what I did. I drove straight to Wrigley Field. First day I got my license. True story.
That's pretty good. Most people can't make it through Chicago traffic.
No.
It's a fantastic story, Greg.
Thank you.
Rich, thanks so much for being here. We know you got to run.
Man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
All right, so that was a good conversation with Rich Gannon, who
I love that guy.
Yeah, that was he does great work. He has a daily show on Sirius XM NFL radio.
He knows his stuff, man.
It's usually on when I'm driving down to the studio. It's good stuff.
Yeah, no,
I miss him doing games, which he doesn't do anymore. Apologize for any technical difficulty that was in there if that was weird. Here's the thing about Radio Row. It's wild as it is. Like, we thought we were going to have Doug Flutie. I'm not sure that's going to happen. People get pulled into 800 directions. This is why I kept thanking Charles Tillman for showing up right at the start of the show, because he's got his own stuff going on at the same time.
Steven's going to have to do 25 push-ups after the show for that faux pas, and that's that's the way we handle it.
You're going to have to do 25 push-ups for calling him out.
Steven is working harder than anyone he's ever worked on the planet this week. We appreciate
Everybody here is crushing it and doing constantly. So, which is why Braggs is chasing some people down right now.
MVP. Hey, we are going to play our guy?
Yeah. So we are going to play Ron Rivera coming up next. We had a chance to talk to Ron. We got to do this first?
Yeah. Well, okay. This interview with Ron Rivera is brought to us by our friends at Sad M's. Their new light beer is absolutely amazing. It's clean. It's crisp. It's refreshing. The ingredients come from the local independent farmers. Game day getting better with our friends at Boston Beer. Sam Adams, live it, love it, dream it. Delicious. Your drinking life will be Osmo, and your football life and your game day life so much better.
Do you know that there's a story from when I was a kid?
There's a story from when you were a kid. Yes.
Sorry, I got this straight. What's wrong, Greg?
We're on the radio.
We're
live right now. So just why don't you walk back off and act like this didn't happen?
That was unbelievable. Yeah. I'm going to tell a story. Let's talk to Ron Rivera, okay? Ron Rivera yesterday, he interviewed for the Bears head coaching job. He was nice enough to talk to us about it, and he was willing to talk about the process. He was willing to talk about the interview, and he felt really good about it. And also feels good about the Bears' decision to not hire him and hire Ben Johnson.
Right.
Yes.
If you're worried about the state of the Bears today, you will feel better after this interview. At least I did. I thought it was really – and Ron, by the way, and we talk about this, first class all the time. I love Ron Rivera.
Yeah. No, Ron's the best. We talked about the Combine last year. We talked to him yesterday. We want to bring it to you because it is newsy. It is interesting. Here's Ron Rivera talking about interviewing for the Bears job. We good? Sorry. Yeah, so we obviously got some technical difficulties going on right now, and we got
the Wi-Fi here has not been great. Everybody's kind of dealing with it this week.
Was that Cam Jordan on a scooter just going by?
It was kind of.
I think we need to add a camera.
I feel like
facing
scooters
out.
should be banned in this room. There's a lot going on here.
Well,
We don't want
pretty noticeable.
We don't have the power to ban anything, and I don't want you to get run over. But if you did get run over for a minute with a scooter, but as long as you were okay, that would humor me just for a second, like if it's just a minor injury.
Yeah, why not?
You
Why
know?
not? Just a few more injuries to add.
For the content. You know, we have to. We got to think about the people and entertaining. That's why we're here.
Well, on my round, I did talk to Jared Payton. Obviously tonight he's getting ready to do the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Mm-hmm. So there's a chance he may join us here in a little bit. He told me that he's going to do everything he can to jump on with us, but we'll see what happens here in a little bit.
I do want to share this statement from NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell on the passing of Virginia McCaskey, who of course we've been covering this story, and we are going to continue to kind of weave between the sad news and the tons of content that we've been getting for you here at Media Row at the same time. This from Roger Goodell that just came in. Virginia McCaskey, the matriarch of the Chicago Bears and daughter of George Halas, the founder of the NFL, leaves a legacy of class, dignity, and humanity. Faith, family, and football in that order were her North Stars, and she lived by the simple adage to always do the right thing. The Bears that her father started meant the world to her, and he would be proud of the way she continued the family business with such dedication and passion. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the McCaskey family and the Halas families and Bears fans around the world. I think that's important to bring into this too, this is not just, the Bears losing their matriarch. And this is an NFL figure. Like this is a loss for the entire league. I mean, she was pretty much the oldest living symbol of the league. And so that's a really good statement from Roger Goodell.
Well,
I was struggling to kind of get through that, to be honest.
Yeah, and it was interesting yesterday when we talked to Thomas Dimitroff, who will play at some point here, perhaps even next week.
I'm pretty sure that was on yesterday's show.
Okay, great. It was played yesterday. It's all over. But the point is that hi, Paul Paps. The point is that he was like, yeah, you all think like the Bears' job is a bad job, but it's like you're into that, but it's still looked upon as this absolute destination place because it is the Chicago Bears.
Well, speaking of that, somebody that would have gladly taken that job.
Yeah, to it. Let's try it.
And did interview with the Bears. I think you're really going to like this conversation. We were going to lead the show off with it, but obviously the news that came in sort of changed the order of things here. But here's the conversation with Ron Rivera.
The former Chicago Bear, could have been the next Bear head coach, but he's going back home to his alma mater. Ron Rivera is with us here, one of the class acts in the history of the NFL. I'll say it like that, working with USAA. Let's start at just right at the top here. Did you think the interview that you got with the Bears was a real one that you did?
No, it was absolutely. That's the unfair. People want to sit there and they want to hammer them a little bit. This group is really, truly interested in winning. Okay, I thought it was first class. I thought the way Ryan Poles ran it was the way it needed to be. I really do, and I mean this in all sincerity. I thought Kevin Warren did his part, sat back, listened, interjected every now and then. George McCaskey interjected every now and then as well. Very, very stoic, just listening to the process as it was unwinding. And I think that's important for people to understand. This was done the way it was supposed to be. They flew me in the night before, took a tour of the facility, got a chance to talk with each one of those guys individually. The kind of interview that you walk away and felt good about. I really did. I understand the Ben Johnson hiring. I really do. You've got a quarterback that's got to get fixed, and this was the name everybody talked about. So doing that sent a great message, I think, to the fan base that we're serious about fixing the number one pick of the draft. I went through that in Carolina. We had the number one pick in the draft. What I tried to do when I came in, I tried to talk about what did you guys do specifically when you guys got this guy? Did you go out and sit down with the USC coaches to find out what he does best? Well, they didn't. Well, when we drafted Cam Newton, that was what we did. We went to Auburn, sat down, find out what he did best, and then we tried to incorporate it into what we did offensively. To me, it always looked like they tried to force things onto Caleb, and that's not going to work for a guy that is not in that kind of. So it's my opinion. So, do I think it was? Yes, I do think it was well done.
So, yeah, we've heard a lot of that the process with the Bears. They interviewed a lot of people, but it seemed like, and I know Ben Johnson's camp, they felt like the whole thing was first class. You have the unique perspective of having been in the organization multiple times. Do you feel like the tide's turning here with how the whole thing's being run up at House Hall?
I do. I think Ryan Poles is, this thing about young guys are going to come make mistakes. And the thing is, I know he's acknowledged he's made mistakes. Shoot, he had to fire a guy that he thought was going to be the guy, and it didn't work out that way. But when you're willing to step up and make that acknowledgement that I made a mistake, okay, and take responsibility, that's telling people first something about who you are. You're willing to correct those mistakes, and I think that's important. Now he's come out, now he's trying to do it the right way, trying to make sure that everything they do is done the right way. So now, to me, that's promising. That's first of all, people that can admit they made a mistake, that's a step forward.
Super Bowl champion Ron Rivera talking with us here in CHGO as we're meandering through the old media room here. Did they ask you, hey, well, who will be your offensive coordinator? Those type of questions come up?
Yeah, we went through, I got to pull this out just so you guys see it.
Oh, yeah, there
There it is.
That was actually I lost mom a couple years back, and this is one of the things that she wanted to make sure I got back. So I wore it here for a special reason. But yeah, they did. We talked about it. We talked about the different guys that were out there that was available as coordinators that I wanted to bring in and interview. I told them I wanted them involved in this interview process. I'm not going to sit there and hire guys that, I want to make sure we all feel good about what we do. And that was important. And so I thought I had a good plan. I think they liked the plan. I really do. I left a couple of things with them. Say, if you got questions, please feel free to call.
I don't know off the top of my head if you have connections with Dennis Allen at all, but I mean, just.
Yeah. I know Dennis.
But obviously, I mean, the schemes all kind of overlap. And I'm just curious with Ben Johnson going that route with Dennis Allen and how you think that fits the Bears right now. I'm sure you look into the personnel when you interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a 4-3 base for the 4-2 base for the most part. You're going to an even front. But with the personnel you got, I mean, this is a personnel-driven league. It's a quarterback-driven league. Get your quarterback, you got a chance. You get the right personnel in the other places, you got even better chance. They've got defensive personnel. Defense kept them in games early in the year. They won a few games they probably shouldn't have, but because of the defense and special teams. This team has got what it needs for the most part. Fix the offensive line a little bit, get these guys matured a little bit. They're going to be a better football team. They really are. Get that running game going consistent, running game, play action, all that stuff helps the quarterback.
Going back to the process a little bit, I'm curious about Kevin Warren because I know you've been around the organization a long time and it's a lot of familiar faces that have been there a long time, but Kevin's the new guy there.
Right.
So I'm curious your impressions on how he's changing some of the culture and how they do the business of operations.
Well, I think when you look at the way things were handled, the way things have been done the last year and a half, you're going to like them. I mean, first of all, I walked into that facility. I've never seen anything like it. I was impressed.
Changed a lot, huh?
It really has. I was impressed. I kept thinking to myself, geez, I wish I had that in Washington. I mean, that's antiquated there. But to see what they've done and the money they've put into that facility, that was pretty special. It really was. And then they talk about all the different things that they're doing, the resources they're trying to give. That was important. And that really showed that Kevin's got a handle and an understanding and a feel for it. I love the way he was involved in the process. Like I said, sat there stoically, listened, took notes, and then asked very poignant questions.
Does it, when it's not a football guy, when you're getting interviewed by a guy to be a head coach, how does that resonate with you, with any organization, not just the Bears?
Well, when it's not football guys, you always think in the back of your mind, well, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And that you always wonder, what kind of question am I going to get? You want guys that have some familiarity, that have been involved in football to understand what it takes. One biggest thing you're always trying to do is always about having the resources. If you don't have the resources, it's hard to be successful. Okay, and that's another thing but listening to him talk, it was about having the resources and then giving the resources.
We got to talk to you at the Combine, Ron, and when your name was floated out there, I was like, hey, Ron Rivera ends up being the Bears head coach. That would be a phenomenal thing, and I think anybody listening to this, if they haven't already known it, I think they're seeing it right now. But let me move on to who you're working with today, which is USA, the NFL and USA, the official NFL Salute to Service partner. So why did you want to partner with them?
Well, the best part is I'm a member. My father served 32 years in the United States Army. He's one of the original members from way back when as a USA member. I inherited it. It's a tremendous financial resource for me in terms of insurance, banking, investments, all that kind of stuff. So I understand what their first mission is, that is serve the military community. Secondly, it's to support the military community. So they have actually supported the NFL Salute to Service, which is a really big deal. And I think that's real important. People understand what it means that USA supports the Salute to Service. I'm a winner. I won it before. It's a very tremendous award. It is also one of the real important awards for the NFL. This year's winner is George Kittle of the 49ers. He's been a nominee a couple of times, and he's finally gotten over the hump, and he's a guy that's very deserving.
Rob, we always love talking to you.
No, I appreciate it, guys.
Super Bowl champ, head coach going back to his alma mater. Can't do it better than that. See, I'm happy that they got Ben Johnson and all, but if they had ended up with that dude,
yeah,
I would have been totally fine with it. That is a front-of-the-room guy. That is a first-class guy. And I believe he would have put together a great staff. Happy they got Ben. Don't read it wrong, Bears fans. But Ron Rivera, when we would talk about it on the show as an option, I'd love to win football games with that guy. That'd be, Super Bowl champion, Chicago Bear, first-class dude. It would have been sweet to win with him.
So Ron and his wife Stephanie, they're just first-class people. I have a family connection with them because his college roommate at Cal, he passed away from ALS. Like, it's probably been a decade or now, and they happen to be next-door neighbors to my family in Minnesota. So like literally those kids, I feel like I've watched them growing up, even though I only see them like 3 or 4 times a year or whatever. But it's usually around Christmas and summertime, 4th of July and stuff like that. And they, so I hear the stories about how they still support that family. And, they'd be going to Carolina Panthers games when he was in Carolina. I think they went to a Washington game too when he was there. So Ron is a first-class guy. My only, it would have been, if we had talked to him today, he would have been one of the perfect people to talk to about Virginia. By the way, I believe Jared Payton's coming over here momentarily.
You do?
I do, because I have a text message from Greg Braggs who told me that. So
we're going to believe Greg Braggs? Seems very risky.
He did tell us Doug Flutie was coming, and that didn't work. So,
Flutie just got intimidated. He knew that I was going to bring the tough questions, and so he decided against it. That's a bummer that we didn't get Doug. But if we end up with JP to talk some Virginia here, that's cool. Did you have any takeaways there from Ron and just what he said about the process? And because when Rick Smith came out and said all those things, I thought Greg Braggs correctly kind of questioned it. Like, obviously the agent of the coach that got paid is not going to go out and blast the organization. I mean, I didn't question it that much, but I thought that was a fair point to bring up. But when you hear it from Ron Rivera, who didn't get the job, and also was like, yeah, I think they made a great hire in Ben Johnson. Well, the way I asked the question at the start, and he hey, I'm telling you, it was real, Carm. Like, he wanted that.
I don't think he called you Carm.
He didn't, but that's okay. But deep down, he knows I'm Carm, and he wants to be my friend, and maybe me and Ron will be great buddies as JP about to join us here. But I just thought it was very authentic, and I didn't think he was trying to, be fluffy, or he wanted it out there that, hey, man, that thing was legit, and they are doing things in a way that the Bears haven't done it before, as we get to bring in our great friend Jared Payton.
Big day for Jared, obviously, NFL Man of the Year. And obviously this day has taken an unexpected turn with the news. We had Charles Tillman on to start the show. You would be right up there with, obviously, your family's connections, what you guys mean in the Bears organizations, and just your reaction to the news today.
Yeah, I was taken back a little bit. I was getting text messages early in the day, so I was checking Twitter like everybody else, and I was seeing some of the reports, and then I was making phone calls, and once I got the word it was confirmed, it hit me a little bit. You guys, this is not just, it's different. Virginia McCaskey is a part of my family. She's brought us into the Bears family, her family. She's the lady that always is sending Christmas gifts to my kids and all the grandkids. She always made us feel welcome, and my mom was just talking about that. It's the love for the family, and she's the mama bear. She's mama bear. She was at my not my wedding, but my reception at Soldier Field. Like, she's in my wedding photos. So this is not just like someone that when we sent her the invitation, we're like, no, she's not coming. No, she was there. She's in the photos, and it's one of those moments where you think about all that she's done, all that she's seen, and what she means not only to the Chicago Bears, the city of Chicago, but to the game of football and the NFL.
Yeah. I was saying that earlier. Right? It's a loss for the whole league.
Yeah, it's a loss for the whole league. We talk about female owners and that have kind of transcend the sport, and I hope you guys know this and people know this. She wasn't just a figurehead. Like, she knew the game of football, X's and O's. She would sit with my grandma, my dad's mom, at games, and on those little little napkins, she would come in and sit down next to my grandma Payton, and they would draw out plays, X's and O's. She was a student of the game, and to me,
maybe she should have been the GM.
Hey, to me, she will be missed, but I think her legacy and what she left is what's going to last forever. And I think Bears fans are going to know that, and my family truly does. We are super, super grateful. I just looking back on pictures from the ceremony of the statue, mm-hmm. and what that meant, and her being there, and all the moments that she's been there. And I remember when I was a little kid, she always talked about how she remembered like seeing me and changing diapers, and when I was little, and like, I've known you since you were born, like the moment you were born. And when I looked at her, I'm like, she's telling me the truth. Like, she actually knew, and she was a part of it, being there and being a part of everything that we've been through and seeing our family grow. Pretty crazy, man.
What do you think your dad would say about her?
Oh, he loved her. Dad loved her. And if you asked her, my dad was her favorite player. And she wouldn't even hesitate. And she's seen, just think about all the football she's seen in her life. Like, that was my favorite player. And I think about the moment where, even when my dad passed in that Green Bay game, and there was you can go find it on YouTube, the video of her like talking in tears about what that meant for her, and they did it for my dad. And she was there when my dad passed away, when I was at Hallis Hall and had to get up in front of the Chicago media as a young kid, 19 years old, trying to figure things out, and there to give me a hug at the memorial service at Soldier Field. There's pictures of her giving me hugs there, and she was always there for me.
Other than the fact that, your dad was the Bears' GOAT, beyond that, why did they connect so much?
I think she really loved everything that my dad was about. I think she loved him as a football player, but I think she also loved for all the work that he was doing off the field. And I think she saw him grow from a kid from Mississippi to coming up to the big city of Chicago and growing to be this unbelievable player. But I think she saw it in him. And so as she saw him grow and cultivate his career, she was like, I saw this before it even happened. And I think that made their relationship so special.
I think most Bears fans, they know obviously her name and her legacy, but they don't. Well, I don't quite understand the person. I've digested all of it, that she's first class sweetheart, all of this, but like interaction wise, like, would you have lunch with her? Like, what would happen here with you when you like? I'm trying to envision this.
I mean, it was always a hug, and always looked you in the eyes, and always was there for you. And just like, I would see her at events mostly. Right. So it would be a Bears event. It would be at an alumni event. It would be when she came to, my wedding, it was all these things. I'm looking for the picture right now. So that's at my reception. And she's in my photos, man.
And what year is that?
That was 2009.
Good job. That was just a test.
Sorry.
Let me ask you, when you mentioned Virginia McCaskey being at your wedding reception, I've heard stories about Virginia and George being at different fans' weddings. I've heard, not just people that are in the organization, people completely off the map, just to give you an idea of how much they invest in the people.
People don't know. They don't know how much the McCaskeys care. And even I go back to with my foundation and I was doing a bowling event for years, and I sent him a just an invitation to come. He shows up in a Bears 34 jersey. Him and his wife both show up in there, bowling with it was just, they do these things, and that's why I'm hoping that the future is kind to them with all these decisions that they made, because they deserve the good coming their way. They deserve this football team to be on the up and up with everybody else, because they do care. And good people.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no question about that. And I really, when we say things always start at the top, and we sometimes use that in the negative way.
Yeah, we do.
We do, but I want to be clear that the same thing is true for the good people that are in the Bears organization. And I can speak for that myself. I'm not going to say that I knew Virginia. I probably only met her once or twice, throughout the whole time I've covered the team. But when things would happen in my family with James being in the hospital, when the Bears reach out and they help and they give him that starts at the top. It might not be her pulling the strings, but that is real within the family. And the fact that I can be critical and ask George a couple weeks ago, hey, do you ever think about moving on? Because you guys have to keep firing people. But at the same time, all of that other stuff, the good stuff, is really true.
And people don't see a lot of the good stuff. They don't. They only see the stuff on the outside, and you have to be kind of tapped in to really get it. And the fact that you get those, I get the emails or the text messages, and just the reaching out. I know there has been some contact between George and my mom today, and so it's just that's what family is all about. So we're here for the McCaskey family. We're thinking about them, and as they go through this tough period. We're always there for them. We got their back.
JP, you're the best.
Man of the year tonight.
Tonight, man, I got to go. I got to go get ready.
Let's go.
Man, you're going to be dressed.
Just wait, dude. Just wait. I got this. This one's planned out, boy. This one's planned out. I'll tell you, green. Just wait till you see it.
Hey, don't wear shorts and a hoodie like I did last night. That was a mistake.
I was going to make some kind of Packer joke, but he's pretty big. He scares me.
Oh, that's a good decision.
No, I'm kidding.
Hey, we appreciate JP coming by here, and Jared's awesome, and I think everybody knows that, but just underline, that was it was fun to listen to him talk about Virginia and the family. Why don't we end the show, guys, with some a little boost of fun, and
we still have to play. We might have to do some on-air production here. We should almost leave it to the. I don't know. Do people want to hear from Brandon Marshall and Josh Bellamy, or do they want to hear from Nick Wright?
Brandon Marshall and Josh Bellamy versus Nick Wright in the chat, 1 or 2?
I say we finished with Nick Wright. It was a fun conversation this
morning.
Save
B. Marsh for tomorrow.
Save B. Marsh for tomorrow?
Save B. Marsh for tomorrow is really good.
Well, then can I tease that a little bit? Because I think might be top 5 my athletic accomplishments happened yesterday. I'm still actually trying to get the video of the good one from
Routes with Bezo.
Routes with Bezo, by the way, is a segment we're actually going to create. And we had Carm ran a route. Bezo overthrew him. Carm failed to adjust.
Really horrible throw.
No.
Horrible.
Didn't even try to adjust. Anyway, that's all coming tomorrow. And then I ran a flawless route.
You'll see it.
It's all going to be there. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to save that for tomorrow. That's our ruling. Nick Wright, he was here this morning. We talked to him. We have fun with Nick. And maybe the best part is it basically turned into a roast of Mark Carman. So, Pizzatola, you will love this interview. Here it is.
I mean, this is the luckiest man on the planet. I'm also incredibly talented, and first things first, it's a great show, as is the podcast, and our friend Nick Wright.
Good to see you guys.
The Washington Post
piece was sweet.
But my guy Ben
out of
Stroh.
the paywall. I haven't been able to read it yet.
Come on, man. Support print journalism.
I agree. I need to do that. Yes, I absolutely.
That Louis Vuitton fleece that I wore ends up being one of the greatest investments of my life. Can I tell you this quick story?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So it's not going to be that quick, but the first Chiefs Super Bowl 2019, Travis at the parade wears a full-length Louis Vuitton mink something, whatever. I looked it up online. It's like 20 grand. Like 2 years later, he and I had become friendly via social media, but still never met in person. And I DM'd him. I'm like, hey, what are the chances I can buy that coat from you? That feels like a one-wear item. And he said, he was like, man, I got to keep that. He's like, I don't know if I'll need it or whatever. I'm like, got it. The Chiefs then win the Super Bowl the last time they played the Eagles, so a couple Super Bowls ago. And Fox is like, you guys are going to the parade. And I'm like, all right, I gotta do something so Travis and I, who at that moment had never met in person, have a moment. So I go to the Louis Vuitton store, and they have a fleece, but it's Broncos colors. And I'm like, don't care, I'm wearing it. So I buy it. It works perfectly. Travis gets off the float, sees me, gives me a giant bear hug, like, oh, and you're wearing the Louis? And then he and I were out. And then he and I were out till 4 a.m. that night. Like, it was like, it could not have gone better. So now we go smash cut. A year later, Chiefs are obviously going to win the Super Bowl again. And I'm like, I got to find another Louis Vuitton fleece, but it's got to be Chiefs colors. I find one that existed for sale years ago. There is one seemingly for sale in the world. Some guy in Denmark has it. I find him. I buy it from him. I PayPal him extra money to overnight it. I get it the day before the parade, and I wear it, and that's the thing that I wore in the Washington Post piece. The problem is now this. They don't make any more fleeces. I'm out of, and they're obviously going to have another parade in a few days, and I don't know what I'm going to wear. So there's my short, not so short story.
So, God forbid you rewear it.
This is a window.
No, it's got to be a new thing.
I just want to give, this is a window into who you are. You love to strategize everything.
It worked out great, and now I got extra wears out of the Louis Vuitton fleece because that's what I'm wearing in the Washington Post piece, looking resplendent. I mean, just spectacular.
How can I think better than the rest and figure out what I need to do?
Right.
That's what you do.
The other thing that really has helped me is just be born in Kansas City and have become the greatest team of all time.
Right.
That's helpful.
That seems helpful.
Yeah, that was helpful.
So we're what, 3 days away from the game now?
Yeah.
I mean, how are we feeling? As confident as ever?
Well, listen, they can. I'm not gonna act like they can't lose. They can lose. They've lost a Super Bowl before. Philly's really good. They would have to make a catastrophic mistake to lose, though. My favorite stat of the three-peat is, in these last 3 years, if they don't lose the turnover battle, not if they win it, if they don't lose it, they're 34-1. And the one loss was week 1 last year, where the one turnover was the pick 6. So that's almost like a pick 6 is as bad as it gets. So if they don't make a mistake, and Philly on the other hand is 10-0 turnover. Like, they have lived off turnovers this postseason run. They're 10-0. The Chiefs have forced 0 and committed 1, and they're still here. So the Chiefs are the better team. The Chiefs should win, but Super Bowl, it's hard. And the only little tiny, almost indistinguishable blemish on Mahomes' resume is he's yet to have a all 4 quarters great Super Bowl. He's been amazing in 3 of the 4 second halves, but he's yet to have like a first play to last play great Super Bowl. Maybe he breaks that out on Sunday.
So, just bringing it back to Bears fans for a second here. I just want to remind people, you used to be on the radio in Kansas City complaining about the Chiefs on a daily basis, pointing at ownership. This is never, outlining.
They won 1 playoff game in the 25 years before Mahomes took over.
Thank you.
Like, Bears fans who think like, oh, the double doink, it can't get worse. Guys, the Chiefs in the 25 years before Mahomes took over, they were 13-3, the 1 seed, lost a playoff game by 3 points because their kicker missed 3 field goals, all shorter than the previous. They were 13-3, the 1 seed. John Elway, 4th quarter comeback, ripped their hearts out. They were 13-3, the 1 seed. they played Peyton Manning, and they never punted. By they, I mean the Chiefs never punted, and they lost. They were they were up 28 points on Andrew Luck. He fumbled the ball, recovered himself, and scored a touchdown, and they lost. They were up 18 points on Marcus Mariota. He threw a touchdown pass to himself. In the middle of that, they played the Steelers in a playoff game where the Steelers scored 0 touchdowns, the Chiefs scored 2, and the Chiefs lost. They had, in 25 years, they won 1 playoff game, and now they win all the Super Bowls. So, like, it can change. It does. You do have to, it helps if you have the greatest player in the history of the league.
All of these games, all of these games they actually won. Like you say in the Super Bowl, like the blemishes, that was the funniest part to me. Yeah. They won every single one of those Super Bowls.
Well, yeah, no, they right, but if we're trying to build the resume of the greatest player in the history of the league, right. It would be nice to have
Jordan was never down in 4 quarters.
Never.
Then you've got to have the start to finish. You don't have to, but it'd be nice to have the start to finish brilliant performance. And listen, I think they're going to score a lot. I think that they're the healthiest they've been all year. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. And the question is, are the Eagles going to match points? Last Super Bowl, I mean, the Chiefs have given up in games they were trying, not week 18. Twice in 3 years, they've given up more than 28 points. Once the loss to the Bills, or more than 20, more than 29 points, I should say. Once the loss to the Bills, and once the Super Bowl against Philly, they just won anyway.
Well, forget how much is on the line for the Chiefs.
It's a nice watch, bro.
Thank you. I've had it for 20 years. Yeah. Forget how much is on the line for the Chiefs. How much is on the line for you? That is what we're worried about here.
Oh, you like money or credibility? No, I mean it's.
You are the Chiefs, so.
I mean them continuing to be great is very helpful professionally.
What's more important though is that we're, I think, about 3 months away, maybe that 6 months away from our next ball boy tryout. So.
And I'm not gonna have a herniated disc this time.
So I mean, I think that this is the key thing. After you.
Can I embarrass you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Pretty easy.
Yeah. So Carm. So the U.S. Open, it's like, hey, we'd like to do a social media thing where Nick tries out to be a ball boy. And I love tennis. I love going to the U.S. Open. I don't like making a fool of myself. But I was like, I will do it if I can bring my dear friend, who this is literally a dream of his.
All he cares about.
Yeah. And so I was like, I will do it if I can bring my buddy from Chicago. They're like, weird ask, but sure. So we do it, or they agree, and we're going. And then they're trying to take like footage of us like walking in and doing stuff. And this guy, I don't know why, is like, I'm just gonna be peak goofy, just like bouncing off the walls, just like saying the goofiest stuff, to the point to where, I love this man.
I was excited.
Carm and I lived together. I love this guy. I had to pull him aside. I'm like, buddy, this is not the image I'm trying to present. We have to.
Honestly, what's scary about it is that I have no idea that I was doing anything wrong. Right now, like what was it? I really don't think I did anything wrong.
I want you to know that we have this conversation every day.
Every day. Because when he meets nervousness, he greets it with more awkwardness. That's exactly what he
mean, he's one of the best people in the world. I love him so much. But at some point, I'm like, man, like, I'm not a big deal, but I'm a person that kind of matters, and I have brought you with me. And they're like, who is this guy?
All I tried to do was literally walk like normal. And
you couldn't.
I couldn't do it. Apparently,
he was seeing all the posters of the champions.
Well, it was so exciting. There was the Joker was there.
You know what? You are partly responsible. After we talked to you a couple weeks ago, after you came off the air, I turned to him and I said, between you and Danny Parkins, I've now understood why Mark is partly the way he is. You guys, it's like Frankenstein's monster.
Listen. It's all. Everything's fine, and we'll let Nick go. But the way this started was when Nick was 27, and I came down to Kansas City to be his producer, update guy, sidekick, whatever. And I see him for the first time.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, he's
I'm
hosting
doing the radio show. Because this is how I would do the radio show. I would start like this. I'm holding the mic, but I'm fidgety. So I'd be moving, and then eventually I'd just be on the chair in what he calls a catcher's stance doing the radio show. And I wouldn't even know I was doing it. And this guy is 10 years older than me, moved from a different place to come work with me. It's like they hired me to work with a lunatic, with a crazy person.
Yes, I'm like, this is a different looking cat.
Yeah.
And he's fidgeting around like it's no one I've ever seen.
This is
and
all true.
And then it took me, I'll blow you up, but that took me about 2 weeks. I'm like,
Then it was the greatest thing that ever happened to your career.
I was like,
Come
this
on.
dude's the most talented guy I know.
Come on,
This
it's
is
the greatest thing that ever
unbelievable.
happened to your career.
Yeah.
Since we're talking old radio stories, he was hired to do 2 things. I gotta get you, buddy. One was book guests, and the other was do the updates. The very first show we ever did, he booked Tom Izzo, which is a great guest. Not really relevant to like the Kansas City market at the time.
By the way, that means David Kaplan booked Tom Izzo.
I literally called him and said I was calling that this is for Cap.
Yeah, and so
I did that.
And so I realized in short order, I was like, this guy's Rolodex is Tom Izzo, and that's it. So the guest booking's not really going to happen. And then he's going to do updates. And listen, I never could do sports updates. I think they're an underrated, very difficult thing. But this guy was the worst update guy ever.
They were horrible.
Just consistently awful. And so then I was just like, listen, man, I love you and I want us to work together, but we're just going to have to change the role entirely. And you're just going to be... He was Stugotz before Stugotz, or maybe with at the same time, and we just didn't know it, and was... And, you know, it led to fame and fortune.
There it is.
So that's the story.
You're terrible at your job.
We've got to change your job.
You're a pretty good host, and you can be
You're
a character.
You're a visionary.
Thank you.
Yeah. We should tie this all together.
Tie it
real
together,
quick.
yeah.
So in 3 days, we got to figure out whatever in you got with Travis Kelce. We'll support the Chiefs on Sunday in exchange for you getting some type of in with Trey Smith and convincing him to come to Chicago.
So I saw that. So you guys are going to try to steal him?
Yeah.
You might have. He's a great player. Great player.
He's asking us about pizza joints.
I obviously would like the Chiefs to keep him. If he has to go anywhere, to go block for Caleb would be great. I love Trey. They drafted Trey and Creed. So the Chiefs, listen, people get annoyed when I say this because they say it's arrogant or patronizing the rest of the league. It's just true. The Chiefs play 2-game seasons every year, and it starts in the AFC Championship game. If they go 0-1, which has happened twice, both in overtime, but it's happened twice. They've had 2 0-1 seasons. You go winless for your season, you make a massive change. The first time it happened, they fired their defensive coordinator. The second time it happened, they traded Tyreek Hill. If they go 1-1, as happened in 2020, they look at the team and figure out why did we not go 2-0, and they remake one part of the team. It was the offensive line, and they signed Tooney, they brought in Creed, they drafted Creed, and they drafted Trey Smith, and those guys have been excellent. If they go 2-0, obviously they hold a parade. I would hate to lose Trey Smith, but he's great. And if he goes anywhere, it would make a lot of sense for Chicago. So that'd be great.
If the Bears, you give $21 million to a guard?
You got to spend the money somewhere. You need good players.
Okay.
The thing is, you need good players.
Thank you. You need all pros somewhere on the roster.
You need good players, and you don't need to spend any more money on receiver, and you need. The real question, if you're the Bears, do you get involved in the Myles Garrett business? The answer is probably not. But yeah, I think Trey Smith would be money well spent. The Chiefs spent top of the market money for Joe Tooney. He's been awesome every single year. And the Chiefs kind of made a choice. They paid Creed this offseason. They didn't pay Trey. So listen, maybe they'll bring him back, but I don't know.
Show's live on Bourbon today?
Live on Bourbon, absolutely.
So FS1,
3 o'clock Central.
3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central.
Right, that's what I meant. 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central.
Have a great weekend.
Appreciate you. Later, bro.
See ya. All right, shout out to my guy Nick Wright, but just for the record, my sports updates in Kansas City were great. What he said there is false. They were. And by the way, yes, I got rid of Hogue and I got rid of Braggs. I brought Paul Papps back because I thought we had such great chemistry the other day that I think this show should just be me and you.
A major upgrade by you. I like where your head's at.
See, that's right. I mean, listen,
you snooze, you lose. Those guys leave, go get a soda, and then I'm in.
Yeah, I mean they are I think talking to David Montgomery, and it's going to be an amazing interview. But if they didn't get him, then that's on them, and we're here to carry it to the finish line.
I'm Turk Wendell out of the bullpen, stepping over the third baseline.
And you did a great leap, and you love the black licorice. Right?
Turk Wendell, legend in the Cubs industry.
Yeah, no, he was one of my favorites. They are going to push us off this set. So, Steven, I know we have some super chats here. I think some of them are related to Virginia McCaskey. I want to make sure we get everybody in here. I think Gary Ross sent one in today.
Yeah, that's our first one. $5 from Gary Ross. And by the way, Gary, thank you for all your great comments during the show. He's been giving us really good info on a lot of things, as he always does. He said, VHM on the opposite shoulder as her dad's initials. Hope the Bears honor her well, and let's go win a Super Bowl for her. Bear down.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate you, brother.
And we got a $5 super chat here from Hawkeye. He says, rest in peace to Mrs. Hallis. May you find everlasting peace in the next life. And watch as we continue to always bear down from above. Bear down, go Bears.
Thank you, Hawkeye. So, yeah, obviously an extremely weird, unpredictable day. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on
it's
weird to get out there?
It's odd to be sad when someone passes after 100 years, but as a Bears fan, she's the constant. She's like the building. She's like Soldier Field. It's someone who you expect to be an older person around you forever. It's like your sports grandmother passing away in Chicago. I saw her a couple months ago, and I was like, oh, of course she's around. She was old when I was young.
Right,
she's old
exactly.
now, and she was omnipresent with that franchise, and it reminds you of the old days, and it is a bit sad.
Yeah, it's an incredible run, and I'm sure they'll do a great celebration for her. I mean, listen, we all know that we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. But when you get to do 102 years, you actually did do it for the long time. I think we would all, some good health. I'm hoping to kick out at like 88. What do you like after I win a tennis match? Like one solid backhand on the line, and then that's it.
Right. So I have a policy. If someone goes after 85, you kind of celebrate a little more. 85 plus, you're really at the back nine.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, man, you made it 87. Fantastic. If you get to 90 plus, it's like celebration time.
Well, my dad's 99, and
really,
yeah, and he's it's a little touch and go over there, and I'm just like, listen, you made it to 99. You put the head down, and let's get to 100 at this point. You've gone this far, and I gotta tell you, it is not easy at that age. Like really, really, really hard.
Like when he drives now, he probably doesn't use the turn signal whatsoever.
Yeah, no, we took the car away, and he did not want to give that up. And then one day it just like. He kept on asking, "Where's the car? Where's the car?" And then you just figure, you took the car, and you're not giving that back to me. So for people who've gone through this, it is not easy because they love their independence.
Yeah, my mother's 82, and I the other day went to visit her. She lives down in Orland Park, and I go, "Do you want me to drive?" She goes, "What do you think I do when you're not here? I can drive fine." She slapped my hand away.
Yeah.
Like,
get out.
It's awesome.
Yeah, well, in 82 nowadays, that's the new
75.
Yeah,
82 is 75.
82 75. Okay.
I think so. That's the math.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, we're gonna have 8,000 things that we're gonna try to jam into Friday's show tomorrow, including David Montgomery, including Brandon Marshall, which we will for sure play. This is gonna spill into next week. Today, obviously, we did our best to honor Virginia McCaskey. Thanks to Jared Payton. Thanks to Charles Pina Tillman for being here. Sam Acho is to my right. What's up, Sam? Maybe we'll squeeze him in here at some point, too. Yes, go ahead.
Before we let you go, Mark, I want to get one question, thought-provoking.
Okay.
If the Detroit Lions were in this Super Bowl, should Chicago Bears fans have rooted for the Lions to win and break their curse? Yes or no?
See, I would say yes, because I don't have the vitriol hate for the Lions. Like,
I think they're hateable. I don't think they're hateable.
Yeah, and it's a little bit hard for me because then I'm getting Detroit fans to get what they want, and there's a lot of Pistons fans in there, and I still hold stuff from the Bad Boys and all that, and there's Michigan fans in there, and but I think overall I would have been rooting for Detroit. How do you root against Dan Campbell?
It's good karma. It's a feel good. You let them win. It's not like the Bears were in the mix where they took their spot. It'd be like rooting for the Cubs in 2016 if you didn't have a dog in the fight.
Right, exactly. And look, I said to Braggs the other day on it, like, wouldn't you give Detroit a Super Bowl right now to get one for the Bears? Wouldn't you make that trade? Of course you would. Maybe you would give them 3. Just one time, climb up, get it done. Hey, Paul, great to see you this week.
crushed that segment. Well, I'm sure we're going to be doing it again next week.
No, this was amazing. Well, maybe we'll just start ending every show with this. We'll, wherever you are,
Right.
we'll Zoom you in, we'll StreamYard you in, we'll eCam you in.
Next week, I'm at my daughter's basketball game. Just hit me up. I'll do the last 3 minutes.
And you might be spending a little more time in Chicago, so we'll get you in the studio.
That's the word on the street.
Back home. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe on the way out. Monday through Friday at noon, pre and post when the season comes rolling around. Breaking news. Hit that bell, hit the notifications on so you are right there with us. We appreciate all the support today, all the comments. And, back tomorrow with one more big day from New Orleans. We will see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.